Well, welcome to the fifth of 7 videos looking at specific project management lifecycle models. And what we're going to do during this particular video is look at the adaptive project framework. And so, very complex picture, but you've got this concept of project setup where you're going to go in and look at the requirements, assess those requirements, classify them, determine the model, assess project characteristics, and then start to move into choosing the specific approach. And then you've got project execution, where you scope it, plan it, cycle through it, do a checkpoint, and then either close the version or loop back to yet again go back through this specific project. Lots of different deliverables are going to come out of this specific project. Again, this builds on what we've seen in previous approaches, but is very expansive so that you have a lot of flexibility and a lot of control. You are going to be coming back and looking at the scope triangle, and making sure that you're making the best decisions based on where you are, considering time, cost, resource availability, and of course, scope and quality. As you're going through, you're going to have to make some choices in terms of which approach you're going to take. And we're going to look at a couple of different approaches. These should be familiar to you, but if not, we'll do a brief review in terms of a forced ranking, a pair or pairwise comparison, and then the must, need, should have, and wants approach. So in the forced ranking, what you're doing is you're having your managers come in. You've got several functions, and you're ranking the importance of those. And then based on that ranked sum, you're doing a forced ranking from the highest to the lowest in terms of what those specific scores are. It's a pretty common approach and should have good face validity in terms of how you would do a forced ranking. In a pairwise comparison, you're taking each approach and comparing it against itself, and that's why you have that diagonal of X's going across. And as you're doing that comparison, if one approach is better than another, you're indicating it. If it's worse, you're indicating that, then you're summing across. And in this particular case, whoever has the highest score is the best approach. So it would be approach 4 has the highest score with a score of 5, and thus it gets a rank of 1 compared to the other approaches. And we've talked about this before, but this idea of must have, should have, could have, and would be nice to have as an approach to looking at requirements and figuring out how you're going to do prioritization of all of those possible requirements or needs. As you go through this, of course, you then need to map it against your triangle to see where you are going to have impact and what things are going to make a difference within the project. Again, what things are absolutely critical, what things are not absolutely critical, what things you've actually got some flexibility with. So when we look at that cycle phase, what we're going to do as we start off, we've got the version scope already, but we're going to build a low-level work breakdown structure, look at a dependency diagram, and then start to come up with sub-team plans and schedules associated with this specific cycle. From there, we get, and again, this just shows that going through and building the resource schedule, who's going to be working on what, when, and how long are those tasks going to take. And again, kind of at a low level, you don't want to put a lot of time and effort into this because you may end up abandoning the project later on. These projects, especially for an adaptive project management lifecycle, are high-risk type projects. From there, we're going into the cycle build, and you're trying to build the functionality associated within the time allocated for that particular cycle. Cycle may end when, again, you've got one of these three things occur. A time box expires, that kind of larger box on the previous slide. All the swim lanes are completed early. Woohoo! Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. Or a major problem occurs. You have your client checkpoint at this point to look at the completed functionality and then determine how you're going to adjust the next functionality and time box. How big is that going to be? Lots of inputs are coming in at this client checkpoint. What did you get done? What did you plan to do but did not get done? What functionality do you still have left to do? What learning took place during this particular in previous cycles and took place during this cycle? And then the current contents of the scope bank out there. The outputs from this should be a review of your conditions of satisfaction and then make some adjustments to what requirements you now have for a solution based on what you've learned, because again, you're learning a lot as you're going through this adaptive project management life cycle. And then you need to prioritize items left in your scope bank and then start to identify your swim lane contents that you're going to use during your next particular cycle. Again, this is talking a little bit about these different types of swim lanes over time and making sure that you're making progress against your plans and the requirements that are out there. You then move into the post-version review, and from the post-version review, checking against the business outcomes, lessons learned, and lessons to improve your next session going back through. And again, you have to make some decisions as well. So what questions were the business outcomes realized? What was learned that can be used to improve the solution? And what can be learned to improve the effectiveness of the adaptive project framework? So again, you then do this adaptation, going back, looking at version scope, and then figuring out how you're going to embed this within the model. So implementing, and finally, when are you going to use this type of an approach? Well, you're using this when you've really got heavy involvement and your client is committed to working through this entire project with you and out doing the learning. Again, you know so little of the solution coming into it that heavy client involvement is going to be absolutely essential to the project being successfully completed. Well, it's hard to believe, but we went through about 20 slides, actually 19, in 7.5 minutes. And this brings us to the end of the 5th of 7 videos looking at specific project management lifecycle models. And what we'll do during the next video is really a short one. We're going to look at adapting and integrating within that adaptive model before moving to a final video looking at extreme project management. So very good. Keep on studying, keep on learning, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.